Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Yankees split the 4-game set with the Seattle Mariners at Yankee Stadium. And this is a series that they could have very easily won. The first game, they were up 4-1 in the ninth inning with one out and no one on. And not that it was all Clay Holmes' fault at all. A lot of it was just it was unlucky in a lot of ways. But he finally gave up runs, and actually 4 of them. And so the Yankees lost in really tough fashion in that first game. And then they lost game 2, and that's going to happen. I mean, they just, Mariners were the better team. But then games 3 and 4, Yankees get it done. So it's good they got the split. Again, this was a series that could have easily been won. But, hey, Mariners aren't a bad team. They have really good pitching. Their offense leaves a lot to be desired. But the Mariners, when it's all said and done, could I see them making the playoffs? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're above 500 right now by, maybe 3 over. The Yankees are now 35-17. So a really good record, obviously, winning more than 2/3 of their games. I mean, that's not sustainable. In my opinion, it's not, but they're really playing very good baseball overall. And they're actually 3.5 games ahead of the Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles finally were swept. They had a very long streak, I think dating back to maybe 2022. Where they hadn't been swept. But the St. Louis Cardinals did that to them. And so the Yankees are actually only up by, I think, 1 in the loss column, but they have 6 more wins than Baltimore. So that's also good. That's definitely as high as the Yankees have been in terms of, games led in the AL East this season. It's got to be. But just a lot of good going on, really up and down the lineup. Anthony Volpe actually has a 16-game hitting streak currently. I believe that's the number. And that's not easy to do. Aaron Judge has just been tearing the cover off the ball. He has an OPS over 1,000 now. So, I mean, after his really, really bad April, he has just been otherworldly in May. Juan Soto's, doing his thing. He hit a few homers in this series. Giancarlo Stanton. I'm losing track, honestly, of the amount of home runs that certain people hit, but it's kind of all the way around. I know Verdugo homered in the series. But, yeah, they're really getting contributions, like I said, pretty much up and down the lineup. I mean, it's really the big boys that are mainly doing it. But, and the pitching's just been great. And Luis Gil does it again. Gil allows 1 hit in 6 1/3 innings against the Mariners. And quite honestly, that hit really could have been an error on Anthony Volpe. I was hoping they would. Although then it took but honestly, the good thing about that being ruled a hit was it didn't put the Yankees in any position to maybe push it further with Gil, because his pitch count was high. He wasn't really going to be able to realistically make it through 9 innings without throwing 130 plus pitches. So, but Luis Gil has been one of the very best pitchers in baseball. It's one of my favorite stories of this team. But just overall, Marcus Stroman pitched maybe his best game of the year in Game 1, the game the Yankees lost. That the first game they lost, he deserved that win. He was really good. Clark Schmidt in Game 2, he actually was tipping his pitches. The Mariners, and good on the Mariners for figuring that out. That Clark's got to do a better job of being more deceptive and then not seeing that. But even with that said, he kept them in the game, 5 innings, 2 runs. And then Game 3, Nestor Cortez did a nice job. I don't think he only went 5 innings, but he didn't allow a run. So the starting rotation continues to be excellent, and that's without Garrett Cole. And they're going to have a very interesting decision on their hands. I think I've spoke about this, and this is a decision that doesn't need to be made for a little bit of time now. I'd say at least a month. And these things tend to work themselves out. But if everyone's healthy, who is out of the rotation? Because I don't think they're going to go with the 6-man rotation, even though I see the sense in it. I also see, the cons to it as well. So that's a good problem to have, but it's you can't take Luis Gil out. I mean, the only reason it would ever be done would be for innings limits reasons, and they have not spoken about that being a concern at all. I mean, we're talking about someone that is very. I mean, I'm going to say this right now. Luis Gil, there's a good chance that if he stays healthy, that he's making this American League All-Star team. He's been that good. I mean, he is basically just about equaling the production they would have gotten from Garrett Cole. No one could have ever expected that. I mean, even the biggest Luis Gil fans, you could have never in your wildest dreams thought that would happen. But overall, I like the way the Yankees are playing. I like the way it feels. Again, even though that first game, and that's the one that we're probably going to focus on the most. Just because, I mean, when I like to go through these games, the ones that I kind of go into most detail are the ones that are closest, and that was the closest game. Um, and so that one definitely, that I would say, when I think back at, there's been a few, the Yankees haven't lost much this year, but there have been a couple of really tough ones. Maybe like two or three that really come to mind. And this was definitely qualified as arguably the toughest one of the season. But let's just jump into it. Transactions wise, um, Ian Hamilton was placed on the 7-day COVID IL. So we have not seen, I didn't know the COVID IL was even still in existence, but I guess it is. And so he will be out, I would presume, I guess, through the San Diego Padres. I think that it happened right before the Mariners series, if I remember correctly. And so therefore, he would be available starting with the Angels series next week, which also it sounds like DJ LeMahieu will be back by then as well. Who did come back was Tommy Kahnle. He was activated off the IL Wednesday, and he took the roster spot of Clayton Andrews, who we'll talk about. He pitched in Game 2, which was a mistake by Aaron Boone that he admitted. So Andrews took the spot of Hamilton, and then Kahnle took that spot. So when Hamilton comes back from that COVID IL, it'll be interesting to see what they do. You would think that Michael Tonkin would be designated for assignment, but then again, look, someone who comes to mind actually right off the top of my head, Nick Birdy maybe could be someone, because I believe he has options, and while the stuff is good, he's had walk issues. So I wouldn't be totally stunned if maybe Nick Birdy was sent down. But again, just thinking off the top of my head there. But yeah, Game 1 of Mariners Yankees, Logan Gilbert, who really was not all that effective for the Mariners. He goes 6 innings, 8 hits, 3 runs, 1 walk, only 1 strikeout. And this is someone that, Logan Gilbert, obviously those numbers make it worse. But Gilbert, this is a guy that can get strikeouts. Even with that 6-inning, 1 strikeout performance, he's, in less than 65 innings, 62 strikeouts on the season. But the Yankees were not. The frustrating thing about this game was this: 3 double plays, 1 by John Birdie, 2 by Giancarlo Stanton. And 2 of them were with the bases loaded, and 1 of them was a first and third situation. So you had 3 spots with a runner on third and less than 2 out, and you get nothing out of it all across the board. So that was the Yankees should have been up by more than 4-1 at the end. So that's what makes this game especially tough. And you had a couple of caught stealings, Volpe and Birdie, late in the game. So there's no way in hell should the Yankees have lost this game, but they did. And for Marcus Stroman, like I said, this was definitely one of his best starts of the season. He goes 7 1/3, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. And his ERA, as much as there's been struggles, and this is a Marcus Stroman staple, the ERA still sits at 3.05, which is kind of ridiculous considering that, for a while there, he was having a real tough go. So first inning, the Yankees take the lead. And just so you know, the lineup continues to basically stay the same. And part of that is that the Yankees have just been facing a slew of right-handed starters, and that actually continues versus the Padres. They're going to be facing 3 more righties, so it's just been working out that way. But in the first inning, you get a 2-run double by Alex Verdugo, and while the numbers for him aren't eye-popping, I like him in that cleanup spot. He provides what they need in between Judge and Stanton. Good source of contact, has a little bit of pop, doesn't strike out much. I like him there. And I like Rizzo in the 6th spot. I would stick with that for as long as they can. And so Verdugo gets that 2-run double to give the Yankees a 2-0 lead. Marcus Stroman was excellent in this one. And then in the 5th inning, the Yankees score again, and it's Verdugo with an RBI single to give the Yankees a 2-0 lead. And this is where Giancarlo Stanton, and this was was this his first double play or second? It might have been his first, because John Birdie in the 4th, he had a double play when it was 2-0, and that was with the bases loaded. And here, Stanton with first and third, 1 out, he grounded into a double play. So now let's jump to the bottom of the 7th, where Stanton, another opportunity to break it open, and this is bases loaded, 1 out, double play. So still 3-0 Yankees. In the 8th, the last batter that Marcus Stroman would face would be Dominic Canzone, who hits a solo shot. So Stroman really was looking. I thought there was a chance maybe he could go the distance the way he was pitching, but he ends up giving up that homer. He leaves the game. Luke Weaver comes on and pitches a very strong eighth inning, gets the 2 outs. Yankees are 3-1, and the Yankees actually tack on a very important run in the bottom of the eighth. John Birdie gets an RBI single to give the Yankees a 4-1 lead. We go to the 9th inning. Clay Holmes, and at this point, he had allowed no runs on the season. And it's funny how it works, where it goes from no runs to him allowing 4 and blowing the save. I mean, it was a 4-1 Yankee lead that becomes 5-4 Mariners. And for Clay Holmes, it was kind of a classic Clay Holmes inning when things go wrong, where the ball wasn't really hit overly hard by the Mariners, like some lucky stuff, to be honest, but also Holmes didn't really have the put away pitches that he needed, and there was a couple of walks. So, control kind of got away from him a little bit. And there was 1 out, no one on, and it starts out with an infield single by Julio Rodriguez. Just a ground ball to Clay Holmes, nothing anyone could do. But then the Cal Raleigh walk hurt him. I mean, he's ahead in the count 1-2, and he walks Raleigh. And then Luke Raley, a very important at bat here, he gets an infield single on a play where I can't really fully, blame goes, I guess, to both Gleyber and Rizzo. The error goes to Gleyber Torres, but it's a play where Gleyber, it's a quick play. It's a chopped ball to the right side of second base. Gleyber charges, throws. And I wish that Rizzo could have at least kept it in front of him. I'm not looking for him to necessarily make the scoop and get the out, but at least keep it in front of him. He doesn't. And so therefore the ball goes into the dugout and the runners advance. So a run scores, and now it's second and third, 1 out, 4-2. So the whole complexion's changed. Next batter, Mitch Haniger, dunks a single into right center field. And this is another play where I wish somehow one of Judge or Soto could have gotten there. I understand they were playing a little bit further back. It's a frustrating inning because you really can't blame one person all that much. And so that makes it 4-3, first and third, 1 out. Then Dylan Moore walks, and that was tough too because it was an 0-2 count. And then Dominic Canzone, where you're really looking for that Holmes either double play or strikeout, Canzone gets the job done and hits a sac fly, ties it up at 4. They decide to leave Holmes in, and at this point, he's up to 30 pitches, and tie France. So if they could have just kept the game tied, maybe the Yankees find a way to scrape out a win in extra innings. Being the home team, it is advantageous when it comes to extra innings and stuff like that. But Ty France, RBI single, makes it 5-4 Mariners. Caleb Ferguson would get the last out of the 9th. So it was a really tough line for Clay Holmes. And then in the 9th inning, Andres Munoz comes on. He's got nasty stuff. He's one of the more underrated closers in the game, I'd say. Anthony Volpe strikes out. Juan Soto, because this is what I love about Soto, is that he's able to hit anyone. His style of hitting is such that he will be able to have success versus the top flight pitchers. He gets an opposite field single. But then, unfortunately, Aaron Judge strikes out and Alex Verdugo grounds out and ends what was a really tough loss for the Yankees. They lose Game 1 of the Mariners somehow, some way, 5-4. Let's jump to Game 2. And Game 2, it doesn't really get a whole lot better. And this was more just your average loss. This one didn't really hurt as much because, look, this shit happens. And for the Mariners, a really nice start for Brian Wu. And for him, this was his 3rd start of the season. He's a pretty promising young pitcher for the Mariners. He goes 6 innings, only allows 2 hits, no runs, no walks, and 7 strikeouts. So really good stuff from him. And yeah, he just allows, a single and a double. That was it. And then Clark Schmidt, he wasn't bad. He wasn't able to go deep into the game. 100 pitches in 5 innings is not great. And we've seen that with Clark in the past. But 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. And it was just really one bad mistake to Dylan Moore. It was a 2-run homer to Dylan Moore in the 3rd inning, and that was the only damage done against Clark Schmidt. And then the Yankee bullpen definitely struggled in this game. Sort of the more of the depth pieces in the bullpen, I'd say, struggled here. But like I said, in that 3rd inning, it would be a 1-out double by Josh Rojas, and then a 2-run homer for Dylan Moore. His 5th homer of the season. Gives the Mariners a 2-0 lead. Like I said, Clark was able to go 5 innings. And again, apparently he was tipping his pitches. Hopefully he can rectify that and correct that next outing. Victor Gonzalez comes on and pitches a 1-2-3 6th inning. Overall, you got to like what you've seen from Victor Gonzalez. I kind of wish that he had a little bit of a bigger role, but I understand maybe the role is perfect, and that's why he's doing pretty well. But I think Victor Gonzalez, when you kind of think about it, after Clay Holmes, after Luke Weaver, I would say Gonzalez for me, pecking order wise. And I know his role is different because he's more of a lefty type specialist. To me, he's been kind of number 3. But anyway, Dennis Santana comes on and he got hit very hard. Santana, and when you look at him, an ERA for a reliever can be misleading, but his ERA now sits at 5.03. He only has 13 strikeouts in 19 2/3 innings. To me, Santana, that's another guy where, when who'd comes back, when Hamilton comes back from the COVID IL, look, Santana, he's a guy that could be at some risk. I think, although I don't know if he has options like Nick Birdy does, but we'll see what they do there. But yeah, Santana, it's that homer to Ty France, his 5th homer of the season to start the 7th, then a double for Mitch Garver, then an RBI single for Dylan Moore. And so that makes it 4-0. Then Gabe Spire, the lefty, comes on for Brian Wu in the 7th. He walks Judge. Then with 1 out, he hits Rizzo. Giancarlo Stanton comes on as a pinch hitter, and they bring on Trent Thornton, the righty. Stanton pops out. We know Stanton's not a great pinch hitter. And I should mention that in this game was one of those games where it was Judge at DH, Trent Grisham in center, Stanton on the bench. But Gleyber Torres, he is able to, get the Yankees right back in it with a 3-run homer. His 3rd homer of the year cuts it to 4-3. And it's kind of funny. Gleyber, he has 14 RBIs in the season. And I can remember at least, I think there's a couple of 3-run homers within that. And there was a 3-run double. So at least 9, it's either way more than half of those 14 RBIs come off of 3 or 4 plays. It's kind of nuts. But Gleyber gets into that one and makes it 4-3. So the Yankees down by 1. And here was where Boone made a mistake, and he at least admitted it. Clayton Andrews, who doesn't have good numbers in AAA, he's only on the roster just because, again, Hamilton was out and Canely wasn't ready yet. And if it was a 4-0 game, that's one thing. But once it was 4-3, he admitted that he probably should have had Caleb Ferguson in, and Ferguson came in the game later and actually pitched well. Andrews' first batter he faces, first pitch, lefty homer for Luke Raley. His 4th homer of the season makes it 5-3. So yeah, not a great job there. And Nick Birdy would actually come on to finish the inning. 8th inning, Ryan Stanek comes on. You get a 1-out single by Volpe, which I think that was a hit that extended his hitting streak at that point. But then ultimately there was a pass ball, but Soto grounds out and Judge flies out. Then in the 9th inning, off of Birdy, Dylan Moore homers again. 2nd homer of the night, 6th homer of the season. And so for Nick Birdy, I just don't love what I've seen from him overall. I see the upside. I see what he's capable of, but just too many walks. And I don't know. I don't really trust him. But eventually, and I guess right after that, Caleb Ferguson does come on there and gets 3 outs. And then Andres Munoz does get in a little bit of trouble, actually. The tying run does come up. 2 outs, Trevino singles, Gleyber walks, and then Oswaldo Cabrera, as the tying run, strikes out. So the Mariners win 6-3, and they at least clinch a split in the series. But the Yankees do a good job, and they were able to kind of bounce back in games 3 and 4 and kind of win it in Yankee fashion. Just, when the Yankees have won, it's just been pretty crisp, and, they haven't really had to sweat it out too much. So the pitching matchup was Bryce Miller versus Nestor Cortez. For Bryce Miller, the home run ball got him. 3 homers allowed by Bryce Miller, 6 innings, 5 hits, 5 runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts. And then for Nestor Cortez, again, wasn't very pitch efficient, 97 pitches in 5 innings, but no runs allowed. 3 hits, no runs, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. So in the first inning, Yankees get on the board early, and it's Aaron Judge, his 14th homer of the season. It's an opposite field homer for Judge. So 2-0 Yankees. Then in the 3rd inning, it's Juan Soto with an opposite field homer. His 12th homer of the year gives the Yankees a 4-0 lead there. And let's see. Let's go to the 6th. Tommy Kahnle actually makes his season debut, and he goes 1-2-3. He was, I guess, somewhat fortunate. He was hit pretty hard, and Anthony Golden made a really nice play on Mitch Garver to get out. A barehanded play charging in. Nice throw to Rizzo, so Volpe flashing, not the leather, I guess, but, a nice arm and a nice play. But yeah, Kahnle, he'll be definitely relied upon in that bullpen, and hopefully he can do well. Kahnle did very well in his rehab outings, so hopefully that translates here to the MLB. But Juan Soto homers again, another opposite field homer for Soto, second of the ninth, 13th of the season, makes it 5-0 Yankees. Then in the seventh inning, Michael Tonkin would come on, and Tonkin was able to pitch a scoreless seventh. In the eighth, though, he gets into a little bit of trouble, allows a couple of walks with one out, and then Luke Weaver, who had like an 18-inning scoreless streak, gives up a 3-run homer to Cal Raleigh. His 11th homer of the year, makes it 5-3. So all of a sudden, Mariners are right back in the game. But Weaver is able to get a couple of strikeouts after that in the eighth. And then in the bottom of the eighth, the Yankees get a couple more runs. It was a 2-run homer by Alex Verdugo, his 6th of the season, to give the Yankees a 7-3 lead. So that was a nice cushion, and it helped Weaver as he pitches a 1-2-3-9. So Weaver still pitched well. Even though he gave up that home run to Raleigh, he got the other 5 outs. So a nice job by him. And the Yankees win the game 7-3. And so now let's go to game 4. So game 4 was, again, it seems like Luis Hill just happens to line up against the other team's ace. And Luis Castillo was on the mound for the Mariners, and the Yankees were able to hit a couple of homers off him, and they certainly worked his pitch count as well. He goes 5 innings, 7 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. So I definitely qualify that as a good job by the Yankees. And for Luis Hill, 6 1/3 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. Just brilliance from him. He's 6-1 on the season, has a 2.11 ERA, 70 strikeouts in 55 1/3 innings, and a whip just over 1 at 1.01. He has been one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. So Yankees would jump out to the early lead. In the second inning, it would be Giancarlo Stanton homering, his 12th homer of the season. And for Stanton, I like what it's been. I mean, look, and he got off to a really slow start. He's batting .246 with an .805 OPS. I'll take that. And I think that there's room to grow there. But if he can stay healthy, he will be someone that is, a positive to this lineup and this offense. So that makes it 1-0. And look, he does things that, and look, we'll talk about later. There was a frustrating at bat where he struck out. Like, that's part of his game, but you take the good with the bad. Then in the third inning, it's that guy again, Aaron Judge, homers again, as he did the game before. It's his 15th homer of the year. Like I said, he's up to 276 with a 1.027 OPS. Just you can't doubt the guy. He's so good. And it gives the Yankees a 2-0 lead. Then, and I should mention in the fourth inning, there was that J.P. Crawford single where Anthony Volpe, I really thought they could have ruled this an error. They didn't. And so that broke up. At the time, it was a perfect game. Later on, there'd be a couple of walks. And then in the ninth, the Mariners finally got some clean hits. So there won't be a whole lot there isn't really much controversy because, the Mariners that wasn't the only hit they got. But let's go to the fifth. Bases loaded, 1 out. And Stanton, it was a decent at-bat until the end when he strikes out a swinging at ball 4. So that was tough, and he does that sometimes. And then Rizzo strikes out. So I'm thinking at the time, it's like, the Yankees, they may have regretted not kind of upping the score a little bit there. But luckily, it was okay. And Luis Hill, he ends up getting 1 out in the 7th. They take him out. Victor Gonzalez comes on, gets a couple outs in the top of the 7th. And the bottom of the 7th, the Yankees break it open. And it would be an RBI single by Juan Soto, a sac fly by Alex Verdugo, and then another sac fly by Anthony Rizzo to give the Yankees a 5-0 lead. Gonzalez would pitch part of the 8th. He would hit Ty France. They would bring in Nick Burdi, and there was a strikeout in between, but a couple of walks. And so it becomes bases loaded, 2 out, and they bring on Clay Holmes in a 5-0 game in the 8th inning with bases loaded, 2 out, and he gets Luke Riley a ground out. And then in the 9th inning, there was a little bit of trouble there, but he's able to pitch a scoreless 9th inning and gives the Yankees the shutout. And so a nice bounce back outing for Clay Holmes. He did end up throwing 20 pitches. And so I think that if they needed him, he'd be available tomorrow versus the Padres. I see, although they might try to stay away from him for the fact that he, came in the 8th inning. So we'll see. No, it was a 4-out save, but the Yankees split the series. And now they will head out west for a long West Coast trip. This will be a 9-game road trip going from San Diego to Anaheim to San Francisco. And the Padres, they have been playing some pretty good ball lately. They're a game over 500. There's, even though there's no more Juan Soto and Xander Bogaerts is on the IL, although he's been struggling anyway, there's still a lot of talent on that team. Certainly in the pitching department. And while the Yankees won't be facing their old friend Michael King, they will be facing a couple of really good starters. So pitching matchup game one, it's a good one on paper. It's Carlos Rodon versus Yu Darvish. And Darvish, even though he's been around for a while, still a really good pitcher. And so that should be a good matchup. Game two will be Marcus Stroman against Dylan Cease. And Dylan Cease, who was acquired from the White Sox, he's had a nice beginning to his Padres career. And so that'll be another good one. And then game three will be Clark Schmidt and Joe Musgrove. And Musgrove, he's actually struggled a lot this season. So if there's one matchup to look at on paper and say, hey, maybe it's advantage Yankees, maybe it's that one. But Musgrove has had a lot of success, in the past. And so this should be a good series. I think, if the Yankees can take 2 out of 3 here, that would be good. But, West Coast trips can always be tricky. And, some of the teams they're facing are, the Angels not being one of them at all. But the Padres are good. And then look, and San Francisco, when they go there, that's a solid team. They're also around 500, but they're capable of a lot as well, I would say. So if the Yankees can come out of there, at least 5-4 in those 9 games, would definitely would be fine with that. 6-3 would be really good. And so we'll see what happens. But the Yankees are able to end the homestand 5-2, and that's all well and good. That first loss to the Mariners was tough, but they were able to kind of bounce back after losing game 2. They win 3 and 4, and now they will head out west, and they will head out to San Diego first to take on the Padres.